Growing and developing Black men in nursing is our episode topic in this, our second episode of Black History Month on the BRG Nurse Executive Podcast channel. Rejoining us as guests are members of the Network of Black Male Nurse Leaders. They are Dr. Bim Akintade, Dean of East Carolina University College of Nursing, Dr. Michael Carey, Associate Professor at Duke University School of Nursing, Dr. Ernest Grant, Vice Dean of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging at Duke University School of Nursing, Dr. Michael Jones, Associate Dean for Culture, Engagement, and Professional Development at East Carolina University College of Nursing, and Dr. Derek Glimpf, Associate Clinical Professor at Duke University School of Nursing. You can find the Network of Black Male Nurse Leaders on LinkedIn, including information about their upcoming summit at the end of February. So let's get started.
Welcome to the BRG Nurse Executive Podcast. BRG is a global consulting firm that helps organizations in disputes and investigations, corporate finance, and performance improvement and advisory. BRG's healthcare performance improvement practice offers multidisciplinary services to healthcare organizations. We focus on implementation with innovative, independent, and data-driven solutions. In the BRG Nurse Executive Podcast, we discuss improving patient care by advancing nursing leadership. For more information about BRG, please visit thinkbrg.com. Now here's your host, Nick Shimolewski.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us again today. It is Black History Month, and our topic today is growing and developing Black men in nursing. In our previous episode, the last episode, we talked about your stories from Black nurse leaders from you, and today we're going to be talking about opportunities to grow and develop Black men in nursing, which I believe is the onus of this group, Network of Black Male Nurse Leaders. With that in mind, Derek, can you tell me a little bit about your thoughts about the importance of visibility? I know you recently retired from a 35-year career in the military as a colonel. So what does visibility mean to you as a Black male nurse leader? And how do you use that as an opportunity to leverage and grow other Black men in nursing?
I think to your point, what you mentioned, showing up and being present, oftentimes we are the only person. And I think oftentimes sometimes they find it hard to approach us. And I realize how approachable we are and how willing we are to give mentorship or give advice. I think, if I can speak for my colleagues, that any of us, if you reach out to us, we would do that. I always think about the Godfather, Ernest Grant. I saw the ANA magazine and I said, you know what, I'm just going to reach out to him. What's going to be the point? And he immediately responded and started developing a communication and looked at some things that I had worked on. And so I think that example of somebody that is being transparent and being available is crucial. I think we all feel that. So mentorship is just that, being readily available, being able to give yourself, being transparent, telling people your journey, tell them where you failed. And failure is not final, that it's just a bumping point, that perseverance wins all. And so I think those type of stories give people encouragement. And whatever, if you're a Black male or you're any kind of minority, if you hear that story, you're encouraged.
If I may add to what Derek has said, this is Ernest. I think also just being truthful to the individuals that you will be mentoring or who are looking to you for guidance, and letting them know that, yes, I can help you with this, or no, I can't help you. Maybe I know someone who can, but I think it's important that they see the real you as well, and not someone that maybe they put up on a pedestal or things of that sort. It's extremely important that you be truthful and honest with those individuals. I think the other thing too is just role modeling who you expect to see. So that means you never know, say in your church or synagogue or wherever you may be, your place of worship, that there may be some young Black male or young Black female who is looking at you and is admiring what you do and how you act. May not even have the gumption yet to approach you, But trust me, they have their eyes on you. And so it's always important too that you start with them very young and continue to mentor them all the way through. And even if they're not going into nursing, just those words of encouragement. How are you doing in school? How are your grades? How are things like this? What's going on in your home life? Showing them that you care, that you're taking an interest in them and wanting them to succeed really goes a long way also.
This is Michael Carey. Visibility is so important, particularly to younger men. It was so powerful for me to see other men in nursing. It was so powerful for me to see other Black men in nursing because there were so few of them. And I remember in my graduate program, there was one Black nurse faculty member, and I would create reasons or excuses to meet with him just because I wanted to learn more about his experience and ask him if he could help guide me to reach the heights in which he was achieving. So the visibility is so important, and it's challenging at times because you can't be at all places at all times, but it's so helpful because I get emails from men across the country of color that ask me about my journey all the time because they see so few Black men in nursing.
Ms. Bea McIntyre, in addition to just people of color, I think it's representation matters. I can't tell you how many people approach me, say after graduation, and they want to come up and shake my hand, not because of the student in the stands. I think Dr. Grant said something about that earlier. Not about their family member that walked across the stage, but because they have a younger child who's with them and they're able to use us as role models. I'll tell you, I feel very, very fortunate in my career. I've had the opportunity to collaborate with people on significant initiatives. And sometimes I step back and recognize that the impact of the work we do, it extends past us necessarily. Some people ask me how I feel carrying the weight of, and I remind them that what I do is for me, it's for the organization. The impact of what I do is for my family and then the other people who support me and have uplifted me in this space. I think representation is important. Whenever I mentor or provide advice to young Black men or just people of color in nursing, I actually encourage them to consider serving on boards for national organizations. A lot of people don't really understand why that's valuable. A lot of time, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of work sometimes too, above and beyond our 9 to 5. But in some of those circles, I find myself being someone who has the lived experience that could speak for people. I didn't ask to be in that space, but I can end up being someone that can shed light on a topic, a perspective, a concern that the other people in the room are just not familiar with. And that's been very helpful. Just very quickly, I was on a board of a national organization and they were going to put out a statement. And that statement didn't call into concern a federal decision that was made. It just wanted to highlight the role of the organization. And I stepped in and said, no, we need to take a stand. If we disagree with this, then we need to explicitly say we disagree with it. And they asked me to help rewrite that statement. That's powerful. For me, that felt very important. Just the fact that I could bring my lived experience to this space and to guide the voice of this organization for all its members, just so people recognize that the board really, or the organization itself, was taking a stand and was calling out exactly what we disagreed with as an organization. That's how I see representation. I welcome it. And I also recognize how important those platforms are so it's not abused.
This is Michael Jones. As Black male nurses in this space, we have to not wait for individuals to seek out mentorship from us, but I think we should also find opportunities to make ourselves available. All too often, not all Black males have access readily to a mentor. effort for various reasons. So for that reason, I think we have to be proactive in making ourselves available and being approachable as well, so that individuals will feel comfortable approaching us for mentorship.
What needs to change to get more Black men into nursing and into leadership roles in nursing? Derek.
I think something that have we discussed early on is really a grassroots effort. Getting early on, really it starts in elementary school, having exposure to Black men in nursing, because often many of us have said they didn't get exposed to Black men in nursing. So I think the grassroots individual effort, being present in career fairs, being present in those opportunities, those spaces where Black male nurses are projected, provided as a viable alternative. Like you said, you know about the lawyers, you know about the doctors, but to the male nurse and what looks like a male nurse is not ever present. So I think that, to me, that's my initial thought. And from a policy standpoint, I think you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional about diversifying workforce, diversifying different spaces. To have a homogeny is not good. So you have to have a diverse group of people. And I share this story always from the military background. In the military, you always have an officer and you have an enlisted. And from that standpoint, you need that both perspectives. And if you don't have that, people lose their lives because you don't have that perspective from both sides. To put it bluntly, so that the military has got it right in terms of they care about, okay, what's the enlisted perspective? What's the officer's perspective? And let's come together and let's make a decision. And so that diversity of mindset is a model that we can build on as far as mentorship, as far as diversifying workforce, and as far as grassroots, to identify early, hey, look, this is a viable option. You also can do this profession.
Yeah, this is Michael Carey. I'll just add to that. I think nursing needs to, one, create a robust marketing campaign that showcases all of the things that nursing brings in terms of a rewarding profession. I think Bim said this earlier about there's a myriad of things that we do, from teaching to clinical practice to working in the community to research, and that's all in one day, right? So there are a ton of things that we do that I think the general public only sees a very narrow slither of. And I think that as a profession, we really need to think about how do we really brand ourselves, and what are the social media platforms that we really need to infiltrate, just get that message out there. If that's us developing TikTok videos, let's go for it. If it's going to highlight the wonderful things that we do on a day-to-day to save lives, then I think that's where we start. The other thing I'll say is, in terms of leadership, how do we get more Black men into positions of leadership? I think that there needs to be leadership pathways or pipelines developed. Just because you're a great nurse doesn't mean you'll transition into a great leader. I think those are skills that can be taught, but oftentimes there are not opportunities. So I think that there should be intentional pipelines and pathway programs that sort of steer promising individuals into positions of leadership.
This is Michael Jones. And I think I'll just piggyback on saying exposure and opportunity. I think we're going to have increased opportunity as well as ensuring that there's more exposure so that these young men and can lead the young ladies out so that they can see themselves in those individuals who are at the highest levels of our nursing profession.
Ms. Bia McIntyre and Dr. Jones, just to add to that, a shift needs to occur in the culture of nursing. So the culture is not just accommodating men in nursing, but to actually recruiting and welcoming men into nursing. I think there's a difference. A lot of us could tell you examples of not feeling welcome as a man during our time. And now that's changed. The change now is that if you're a man and you find yourself here, we'll accommodate you while you're here and ensure you get what you need. I think that shift still needs to occur to where, just like Dr. Carey said, there are lots of challenges in our profession today that I think having more men as a whole in nursing would help support. I was part of the thought leaders discussion last year from the American Association of Colleges of Nursing, and our entire conversation circled around the image of nursing. And in this powerful room, I said, I'm going to talk about diversity. And I said, and I don't mean race, because when you say diversity, the first thing people think about is race. I said, no, I said gender diversity in nursing as a whole. Nursing, unfortunately, has never been able to properly advocate for itself, to be able to understand what our worth is in the healthcare landscape. And the reasons for that, it's multifactorial. But I think we are at a point now where we could be more intentional. We haven't created enough spaces to where comfortable conversations are being had about why nursing should be a top choice for a young man who is considering a career choice today. Nursing is an option. Why is nursing not the option? Many studies have demonstrated that nursing provides the highest return on investment for any major in undergraduate majors in most university settings. So what you pay for tuition fees and food and accommodation over 4 years, you compare that to your salary, your first year salary after graduation. Nursing is number one in ROI. And that's the major where you have about 10 or 11% men. And then of all the men, it's less than 1% African-American men. So I think just reevaluating gender diversity in nursing first, and then seeing how we could also increase the number of African-American men in nursing. I think that will go a long way in how we advocate for our salaries, how we advocate for how nurses are treated in clinical practice, and the list goes on.
I've always have said and felt that nursing should be reflective of the people that we serve. So when you look around the nation and you look at the numbers and see that nursing is still predominantly 80% white female, we've got a long way to go. And one of the ways that to get more, not only Black boys and girls, but other ethnic minorities within the profession, I agree with what was stated earlier. It needs to start early in the grade school. One organization that I belong to, we go in once a month to an elementary school here in Durham, and we serve as tutors for these kids. We tutor them in math or in reading or whatever other subject that they may need. And the good thing about that is that kid begins to realize that, hey, it was a nurse that taught me how to read. It was a nurse that taught me how to understand math, or it was a nurse that supplied me with school paper or with a coat or something like that to keep me warm in the winter. So when they begin to think about a career, hopefully then they'll think about who has the most influence on you. And it was that nurse. And in my case, I think your audience probably know that I'm very tall. So when you see a 6'6" African-American male in there tutoring a third grader, yes, that person looks up to me because of my height, but I get down to their level and really befriend them. And so they really can see that, hey, if he can do it, why can't I? Or even go beyond, because that's one of the things that we also stress to those that we mentor. Just don't role model us, but go beyond where we have gone. Yes, we'll start you on that trail. We'll give you the advice and whatever, but just don't stop when you reach maybe an assistant nurse manager or a nurse manager. Continue to climb that ladder of success.
Many of us have intriguing stories, and we wanted to capture that, not just to capture it, but to use it as an opportunity to inspire Black men in nursing or just anyone in nursing. Third Thursday of every month, we have the Network of Black Male Nurse Leaders. We have the Distinguished Brother to Brother monthly speaker series, where we invite a Black male nurse leader to come by and share their story. So depending on either their area of expertise or something unique they bring to the table. Say, for example, if you're a military person and you've advanced into leadership in the military, they'll come talk about that. And we post invitations on LinkedIn. Lots of individuals attend. We record the presentation portion in the Q&A, and after that, we stop the recording. And then it just gives us a platform to check in on one another, talk about what's going on, how we can support each other. And it's been a fantastic opportunity, I think, for all of us. It's well attended. We usually post it on LinkedIn and leave it open for individuals who are interested in attending.
And both men and women attend. And again, it's open to all. And it's very great to have the different perspectives that when we're having the other sessions, that what people want to talk about or what they have experienced that week or whatever. It's really fascinating.
Growing and developing Black men in nursing has been our episode topic. Our panel has been from the Network of Black Male Nurse Leaders. Gentlemen, Dr. Derek Limp, Dr. Michael Carey, Dr. Michael Jones, Dr. Bim Akintade, and Dr. Ernest Grant. Thank you so much for your time today.
You've been listening to the BRG Nurse Executive Podcast, which focuses on improving patient care by advancing nursing leadership. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and podcast guest and do not necessarily reflect the opinions, position, or policy of the guest employer, Berkeley Research Group, or their other respective employees and affiliates.